Hello everybody and welcome to our presentation today. So today we're talking about how to get money to start a physical business. So if you're looking to start a business, looking to get capital to start a business, by the end of this video you're going to know many different ways to be able to do so. How you can actually get capital, even if you have credit issues, even if you don't have revenue yet. Some options, a lot of options you don't even need collateral for. We're going to teach you by the end of this video exactly what you need to do to get capital to start and grow a business. For those that don't know me, my name's Ty Crandall. I'm actually the CEO at CreditSuite. And at CreditSuite, this is what we do. We help businesses get capital, and we do so by improving your fundability, the things that lenders and credit issuers look at to determine if you should be given money and how much you should be given and the terms you'll pay. And then we also help you with all aspects of building business credit for your EIN that's not linked to your personal social, something any startup can do. And we also help with accessing all different kinds of financing, most of which you're going to learn about today, many more other than what we're talking about today as well. So if we can help you along the way with getting capital, feel free to give us a ring, 877-600-2487. That's 877-600-2487, or email us info@creditsuite.com. So first of all, let's start with what people do wrong when it comes to getting capital for a startup. So when it comes to getting money for a startup, conventional banks are just not the answer. The big banks, and what we talking about when we're talking about conventional banks, we're talking about Bank of America, we're talking about Chase, we're talking about Regions, and all these larger conventional banks that are out there. They're offering SBA loans, and so in almost all cases they're going to want to see 2 to 3 years worth of tax returns, and over 89% of those applications end up getting denied anyway. So think about it, even the businesses that are established, that are going into the big banks trying to get money, most of them are denied. About 9 out of 10 of them are denied. So not the best place to go, especially if you're a startup. Now fortunately there are a lot of options, but you just need to realize that going to your bank, even if you have a good relationship with them, is probably not going to work out well for you when you're looking for money for your business. Instead, as you'll learn today, what you want to do is you want to focus on getting financing based on your business strengths. This is a little known about strategy that works really well and opens up a lot of funding options for you, as you will soon realize as we progress through this presentation. So there's a lot of funding that can match based on your strengths that can help you get money even when you can't get money at the big banks. So we're going to dive into some of those right now. So one of my favorite financing programs that's out there for startups we call UBF, or Unsecured Business Financing. Now this has the highest loan amounts I've seen when it comes to credit lines for startups, and yes, you're getting credit lines as a startup. So you could typically get up to about $50,000 or even higher. Now the highest we've seen is up to about $150,000 in financing, 150. Okay, I messed up with the 90% rates there. I'm not sure exactly what I was actually typing in there, but the rates on this are typically normal to relative to normal credit card rates, and you can usually get about 5 to 8 times the amount of your highest credit limit now. So you can get up to $150,000, and I have 90% rates, but that's not true. Let me actually update this right now with what it really is. Okay, it actually is 0% rates. So you're able to get 0% rates on this for about 6 to 18 months. That's how this works. So you're able to get 0% rates on this for about 6 to 18 months. Okay, and you can get up to $150,000 in financing. Okay, as a matter of fact, sometimes you can get individual credit lines for up to just $50,000 by themselves. So 0% rates up to $150,000 in financing. How much you're going to get is going to be based on the highest credit limit account you have right now. So if you want to know how much money you're going to get, you have to think about the highest credit limit that you have right now on a credit card. You're going to get about 5 to 8 times that amount. You could take cash out just like you can on any other credit line, and you don't need financials or collateral to qualify. So what I like about this option is you don't need tax returns, you don't need bank statements, you don't need to show any kind of revenue, which is why it works well for startups. But the other cool thing is you don't need collateral either. So in a lot of cases with startup financing, they're going to want some collateral to offset the risk, but you don't need that for this program to qualify. All that matters is personal credit. So they're typically just looking at personal credit as a qualifier. They're going to want you to have about 650 credit score to get credit lines that report to the consumer credit reporting agencies like TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. You're going to need a 680 credit score or higher to be able to qualify for business credit reporting cards. So these are cards that report to the business credit reporting agencies. Pretty cool, because not only are you able to get up to $150,000, but you're also able to build your business credit at exactly the same time with this program. So a really cool option. Now, keep in mind, they're also going to care about inquiries. So they're They're going to want you to have probably less than 6 inquiries in the last 6 to 12 months. And they're also going to care about utilization. They prefer for the better cards that your utilization is as low as 30%. If your utilization is a little higher than that, or you have inquiries that are a little bit higher than I just mentioned, well, then you still want to get in touch with us, because I can tell you what will happen is we've got funding sources who will actually finance the pay down of your credit cards. So let's say your utilization is 35% or 40%. Well, they'll actually give you a loan to pay down the credit card so you can get these credit lines and then pay them back. And we also work with companies that can help you if you have inquiries on your credit report that you don't recognize as well. Not things we do, but the funding sources here will actually help you. So if any of this financing makes sense to you as we go, then check out our link here at the bottom of my slides, creditsuite.com/get funding. If you go to creditsuite.com/get funding, you can answer a handful of questions or less, and we can give you a really good idea of all the financing that you can qualify for. And just so you know, our finance team never charges you a dime of money. You don't pay application fees. You don't pay up front. We don't charge you fees on the back end and roll them in. You'll still pay the lender normal rates and fees that they charge. We'll even negotiate that on your behalf. But it's really cool because you get to work with our financing team to find all the best financing for your company, and it doesn't cost you any money to do so. So let's talk about startup loans. You can also get specialized financing to buy what you need to get your business. So let me give you an example here. A lot of people make this mistake of coming in and saying, I need $50,000 to start a business, as an example. When we ask them what the 50's for, then what they're really saying is, look, I need the 50 for $10,000 for equipment and $10,000 for office supplies and $10,000 for inventory. But what you need to know is there is specialized financing that can help with a lot of these things. And by knowing about the specialized financing, you're able to get financing just for those items that you need, like equipment, and then you're able to get credit lines and loans that you can use as working capital for other things you may need, like marketing or payroll, for example. So always focus on specialized funding when you can. Always try to go out and get the financing for the things you need, like equipment, on their own, so you don't tap into credit lines and loans where you can use that money for other purposes. So equipment financing and leasing is available to buy or lease new equipment. Okay, you can get equipment financing even as a startup business. So that's something, if you have big pieces of equipment you're trying to get, like a backhoe, or I've helped clients that work in doctor's offices that needed medical equipment to many things in between. So keep in mind, there's financing for equipment. Even if you're in the transportation industry, and if you need money to buy a truck, for example, there's specialized financing for that purpose. If there's specialized financing to buy ambulances and buses and other kind of vehicles. So you got to think that in some of the stuff you need, you can get this individualized financing, including equipment financing. There's financing for commercial signs. So if you've got a retail company, these could cost thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. You can get financing just for the purpose of putting up your commercial signs. You can even get financing to wrap a vehicle, to do a graphic wrap around the vehicle. So there's specialized financing for that as well. And then there's a lot of collateral-based financing that's based on assets or collateral that you have as well. And what's nice about a lot of this financing is you can get rates of less than 5%. Okay, what's nice about having an asset that you could pledge as collateral, and we'll talk about some options here, is that there's two nice things. One nice thing is that you can get very cheap money, rates less than 5%. The second nice thing is you don't need to own the asset. Somebody else could own the asset. Somebody else that's a family member, a friend, or a potential partner could have an asset they're willing to pledge as collateral, and you can still get low rate financing even using their asset as collateral. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. Okay, and personal credit doesn't matter for any of these kind of financing when it comes to actual collateral based or asset types financing. So let's talk about that. So you could use existing inventory to get financing, or you could buy inventory using inventory financing. You could have account receivables, meaning the customers that you're actually are going to be paying you money are paying it on terms. That's what account receivable financing is. So somebody's paying you the money on terms for the product or service, not all up front. You can use a 401k from yourself or somebody else as collateral for financing, or stocks or bonds or IRAs. Or again, you can use a guarantor for any of these things. What I love about guarantors is this. It's estimated that over 75% of business owners get money to actually start their business. They actually get this from family and friends. So if you think about it, if you're able to have a guarantor, let's just say as an example, your dad, right? It's easier to go to dad and have him be a guarantor to use his credit to qualify for unsecured business financing. As an example, if you were to do that, there would be no credit that would report on dad's credit report, right? Because you're getting business credit cards that report on your business name. So dad could co-sign and be a signer or a guarantor. You could then come in, qualify for the financing, get $100,000 in credit lines, build your business credit because those report to the business credit reporting agencies. And the only time dad would be hurt is if you defaulted on that credit. Then the credit issuers would come after him, of course, because he's the guarantor. But again, if you took $100,000 from dad instead, well, dad would still be out that $100,000. So he would lose in that situation either way. But being a guarantor, he doesn't lose anything unless you default. The same thing with collateral. Dad could have a 401k. He could have stocks, bonds, IRAs. He could have a big piece of equipment that you can use to borrow against to get money. So those type of things allow you to tap into to your network of family members, friends, potential investors, and use them as guarantors or use their asset as collateral to qualify. It opens up a lot more options. And if you're in that bucket where 75% of business owners get money from family and friends anyways to start the business, well, then you're just making it easier on them to help you because they don't need to come out of pocket with a bunch of cash. So it opens up your funding options. So investors looking to buy and flip properties can also get specialized financing. You've got to have some cash on hand. They're going to want you to put it in escrow. They're going to want to see recent experience, 2 or 3 flips over the last few years, and they're going to want to see average credit or better, about a 650 FICO score or more. Okay, so that's another specialized financing that's based on an asset. The asset is the property you're flipping. What's nice about house flipper financing is that you can get 100% of the money you need to buy and rehab the property for flipping. So if you want to get into real estate investing and you get the money through some of these other options I've given you to get the first few properties under your belt, after that you can use house flipper financing and get 100% of the money you need to buy and rehab the property through this financing option. Or you could also borrow against commercial real estate. So one of the big common loans we're doing right now is we're helping people buy the property they're currently renting. And as a matter of fact, they can oftentimes do that with little to no money down and keep their payments the same or less. So think about that. If you're paying rent every month, it's a nice write-off, but you're not getting anywhere other than the write-off with it. You could actually come in and buy that same property you're leasing or renting, keep your payment the same, put no money down, and then actually be owning the property, actually own the asset. And by the way, real estate is one of the most common assets used for SBA loans. So as your business grows, it's really going to be important that you have assets that could be collateral, and real estate is one of the most popular ones. So that could really help you there as well for commercial real estate financing. Or if you're an insurance agent, well, then you can get book of business financing. This is where you're using your book of business of customers you have and financing that to get collateral, against that to get collateral. As a matter of fact, one of the most common ways that insurance agents buy other agencies is through this kind of financing. So let's say that you want to buy another insurance agency or buy an insurance agency. Well, then you could use the actual book of business that agency has as collateral to get the money you need to even buy them. And so it really helps because they get a bunch of cash up front, which is what they want if they're going to sell it. And you really can come up with little to no money down and be able to own an insurance agency or expand your insurance agency by buying up another agency using their own book of business as collateral to qualify. So let's talk about security-based financing. This is where you're using stocks and bonds to get financing. You could borrow as much as 90% of the value of those stocks and bonds. You still earn interest on those stocks and bonds even while they're pledged as collateral. You can get the funding and get your money in a few weeks. Interest rates very low as 1.6 to about 5%. And you're getting a working capital credit line, and cash flow doesn't matter and credit doesn't matter. So it works great for a startup. Your credit's not even looked at. And again, you can use the stocks and bonds of yourself or a family member or friend or anybody else that wants to let you pledge the stock. So think about this again in this example of going to dad and saying, "Dad, I need $10,000 to start a business." Well, if dad gives you 10 grand, that's 10 grand less money he has that he's earning interest on, etc. But if you go to dad and say, "I need 10,000 to start a business," you could pledge $10,000 of your stocks. You still earn interest. You still keep the money invested where it is. The only way you're going to get hurt, dad, is if I default, then they would take that $10,000 worth of stocks. Dad really loses nothing unless you default, and it makes it much easier to go to dad or mom or grandpa, grandma, or friend or potential investor and get them to want to help you. because giving you 10 grand out of their pocket, that's a big hit for anybody. But if they're just pledging stocks and they could still earn interest on that money, and the only way they lose is if you default, then it's going to be much easier for you to be able to solicit them to get financing. So some things to keep in mind. Now you can also use 401k to get financing, and this is IRS proven strategy, so there's no tax penalties. And on top of that, you can still get rates less than 5% close in a few weeks, and you can borrow against 100% of what's rollable in your 401k. And what that currently means is it means what's not currently with an employer. If you have a 401k that's currently placed with an employer, it's the employer that probably won't let you use that as collateral to get financing. That's something you have to check with them about. But typically you can get 100% of the financing about what's in your 401k already that's not already placed with an employer. And remember, this doesn't even have to be your 401k. As a matter of fact, when partnerships are formed, this is one of the most common kinds of financing that's used for partnerships, because partnerships are allowing multiple people to tap into their 401k to start the business. So really good to use the 401k you have or somebody else. So you can use existing account receivables to get financing as well. You could borrow as much as 90% of those receivables and get it advanced in 24 hours, close in a couple weeks, really low factor rates, 1.33%. You typically less than 2%. Okay, and you're able to do this if you have receivables with another government or business. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're in a commercial landscaper and you do landscaping for commercial buildings, and they pay you over the course of 2 or 3 months. Well, then in that example, you could then get 90% of the money they owe you advanced in 24 hours, even though you're not going to have the money in your pocket by letting them pay for 3 months. So a perfect example of mine is one of our clients does all the plastic mug manufacturing for places like Busch Gardens. You know, you go to buy a drink at Busch Gardens, it has their logo and everything on it, and they pay a really high premium to buy that special glass, right? Well, he makes that. But the problem is, Busch Gardens can give him a huge order to manufacture those cups. He has to then spend his own money, right? The business's money to be able to get the people to make the mugs, to make the glasses, get the plastic, to run all the machines, to run the plant that actually makes them. So he's out of pocket a bunch of money to produce the product. Then he gives the product to Busch Gardens, and then they might not pay him for 30 to 60 to 90 days. So you got to think he's out of pocket all that money for 3 or 4 months while he's waiting to get paid. What account receivable financing allows him to do is, instead of waiting months to get paid, he would get 90% of that money the next day. Then he could use all that money to produce the product, get it to Busch Gardens in this example, and then what happens is, then once that invoice is fully paid, in this example by Busch Gardens, then he would get the rest of the 10%. So it just allows you an opportunity to take on much bigger orders, because again, you don't have to actually come in and you don't have to pay all for that product production all out of pocket. You're able to actually use AR financing, account receivable financing, to get most of that money, even though they're going to pay you over months. And Raymond, thanks for saying hi. So you're from Ireland, man. That's awesome. I love Ireland. One of my bucket list items is to go to the Guinness Brewery over there. So I might see you soon. So purchase order financing. Well, this is a way for you to basically get financing to finance purchase orders. Okay. So the lender basically funds the purchase order for you, okay, and then what happens is you can then get that order fulfilled, collect the money, and then pay back the financing. So the way purchase order financing works is, we see a lot of startups come in where what happens is they have the ability to actually have big orders before they even get started. They say, look, I've got these orders from these 3 companies that I'm ready. I just need the money to fulfill these orders. Well, purchase order financing would get you the money. They issue a letter of credit to that actual supplier to actually let the supplier know, look, when you ship this to this person, you're going to get paid. We're going to pay you. Then the lender actually will pay that purchase order for you. You get the goods you need to produce the product, sell it to the company you're going to sell it to. Okay, then you get the money from them, and then as a result of that, you then pay back that purchase order. As a matter of fact, purchase order financing and account receivable financing typically work really well hand in hand. It's a way to get the money that you need to fulfill purchase orders, okay, and then not have to pay or get all the money you need to produce the product, even get the money you need for delivering the product before the product product is delivered, then you can produce the product, and then you can actually deliver it, then get paid, and then pay back the financing. So it opens up a lot of opportunities for you because you're able to actually get the money you need to produce the products that you're even going to sell before you sell the product, which is nice. Inventory financing. You can use existing inventory as collateral to get financing. You've got to have quite a bit. You have to be buying quite a bit, about $500,000 more, or you need inventory in existence of 100,000 or about 500,000 or more to borrow against. But you can get a line of credit for about 50% of the value of that inventory. Close in a few weeks and get rates as low as 5% to 15% typically. So a great solution if you need to fill your shelves with inventory, or if you already have inventory where you're already leveraged, or that you want to leverage to be able to get more financing. Okay, now again, we talked a little bit more about that. So equipment financing. We talked about buying and leasing equipment. As little as the first and last month's payment is what they're going to want from you. Now, rates are all over the place. I mean, you can pay a really high rate if you're really high risk, like bad credit. If you've got better credit, your rates are going to be a little bit better. Now, they prefer that you have average credit, 650 or higher, but we see people with 500 credit scores still get equipment financing. You're just going to pay higher rates. Okay, so again, a lot of things you could do here. We saw a guy that had really, really bad credit, and he ended up getting a tree destumper for his golf course. He basically creates golf courses, and he had people out there manually de-stumping the golf course, pulling stumps out of the ground, and then he bought a de-stumper, which, by the way, didn't even know a de-stumper existed, but it does, and he bought it to actually a machine that pulls the stump out of the ground, and it ended up saving him over $10,000 a month because he was able to get financing for equipment to offset what he was paying for labor costs. And again, he had really bad credit and still made it work. Now, you can also come in and get equipment sale leaseback, where they'll borrow, you can borrow as much as 50% of the value of that equipment. Okay, so that's where you're not getting money to buy equipment, you're using existing equipment as collateral to leverage and get financing. And again, the nice thing is it doesn't have to be you. It could be another family member. Okay, so maybe dad or grandpa has an old backhoe that they don't use anymore that you could use as collateral. So again, keep your mind open. Even if you don't have some of this collateral we're talking about with some of these asset or collateral based options, some people around you may. And it's easier for you to tap into their collateral and use it as leverage to get money than it is typically to get cash from them. So equipment sale leaseback, as I mentioned, you're just basically you're basically selling the equipment you own to a lender and then leasing it back to them. And once you've paid your payments, the equipment is yours again. So a great way to borrow against equipment you already have. So SBA 7A or 7M, microloans, where you can get up to $35,000 in working capital, and you can get this as a startup. Average loan amounts are about 10 grand. Now, when we survey clients, we find 10 grand is a sweet spot. That's what a lot of business owners are looking for to get their business off the ground. So you're well within that range. Funds come directly from SBA. So this is very interesting. Most SBA loans, the money does not come from SBA. The money comes from the bank that provides it. So for example, if I go into Bank of America to get a loan and it's backed by SBA, well then Bank of America is lending me that money. SBA just guarantees that if I default, then they're going to pay up to 90% of the amount that I get the loan for. So let's say I get a $100,000 loan, I default, I don't pay anything, and I default on the whole 100 grand. Well, in that case, SBA could cover as much as 90% of that. So even though Bank of America gave me the loan, SBA would give the Bank of America up to 90,000 of the 100,000 loan if I defaulted. So that's why big banks can even offer businesses loans, because SBA takes the majority of the risk. But SBA does not offer the loans in those cases. With 7M or microloans, SBA is actually lending the money themselves. You can get it directly from SBA, and you can get loan amounts up to 35 grand, and you can even do this as a startup. So it's a really cool way to go for smaller funding amounts, which again, starting a business, you shouldn't need more than 35 grand in a lot of cases to begin with. Crowdfunding works best when donors can personally connect with you. So if you have a unique product or service that most people don't see, well then crowdfunding is a really, really, really good option. You can use platforms like Kickstarter or Indiegogo to start up campaigns, okay? And some of them, they have got what that's called flex or fixed pay. You just need to know that, because with flex pay, even if you don't reach the goal that you set, so let's say I'm going to try to reach $10,000 and I only reached $9,500, with fixed financing, you would never get any of that 9,500 if you don't reach the goal. But with flex financing and places like Indiegogo offer this, if you put a goal of 10 grand and you only raised 7,000, you'd still get all of that 7,000. So something you need to know about crowdfunding is it flex or is it fixed funding? You need to know, because depending on that goal you set will determine if you get any money from it or as well or not. So you're going to want a good pitch, whether it's going to be a video or written pitch. Typically it's going to be video. And what I find is this: crowdfunding works really well if you have a really unique product. So I found one that I loved, and it's this box you put at the top of your stairs. And then you open the box, and what happens is the box unfolds into a slide. Now, tell me that's not awesome, right? A box at the top of your stairs, you open the box, you fold it, and it's a plastic slide that unfolds, turning your stairs into a slide. Now, if you're the rest of me, if the rest of you are like me, you used couch cushions or something to that effect to be able to go down stairs when you were a kid, or if you're like me, to even do it as an adult. So that's a really cool niche product. And when people see that, they share it with friends, it goes viral, and then that's how these crowdfunding campaigns take off. So you need to know, before I wrap up this slide on crowdfunding, that most crowdfunding has to do with you lining up donors in advance, you finding people interested in what you have even before you actually roll out that product. You start a crowdfunding platform and say, hey, would you be interested in this box that goes at the top of the stairs that turns into a slide, turning your stairs into slides, and then people start donating to that actual crowdfunding campaign. Most things that go viral are unique and niche like that. They really rely on your ability to share with your network and get your network to share the campaign as well. And a lot of them that really become super viral have people that are lining up donors before they even start the campaign. They start the campaign, and then they have those donors donate. Crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter, Indiegogo see the campaign as popular, they promote it, and whammo, the thing goes viral. So again, crowdfunding, I found two things that really make this successful. Line up some donors before you start the campaign, and also it's really going to be reliant on your own social network's ability to share. So you need to start talking to your own network to help them make this go viral to get the most amount of money. Let's talk about more startup loans. AngelPad. Well, they've got startup loans specifically for web technology entrepreneurs. BeatSpring. They will give you up to $20,000 in startup funding. First round capital. They will do investment in millions of dollars for startups. And again, all the ones on the slide I'm going to show you, these are specific lenders for startups. These are like ones nobody even knows about. But these places will give you grants or loans specifically for startups, or just give you, I already said that, grants, basically the equivalent of free money. Jumpstart Foundry, $15,000 for startups. Launch will give you up to $500,000. They have you compete with other startups, and the one that's selected and wins gets up to $500,000. And you also want to check your alma mater if you're a graduate from college. They may have something as well. So again, a lot of these, even though I put startup loans, many of these aren't even loans. They're gifts. They're competitions. It's free money they will give you without having to be paid back. Some of these are loans. But again, the nice thing about these 5 that I just showed you, they're specifically funding for startups. That's exactly what they end up doing. Okay. So that being said, and Ravere says, I used to sit in the box and push myself off the top stair. Looking back, I wasn't too bright. No, I think that's really bright. So you did it in a cardboard box. I've seen that done before, as well as couch cushions. I'm telling you, I think a lot of us did this as kids. Are they all for web? Poppy, they're not. AngelPad is for web technologies. The rest of these aren't. But that's a really good question, because if you look, and I'm about ready to jump into grants, there are many grants, there are many competitions, there are many crowdfunding platforms that are specifically for startups. So when you start looking at what I'm saying here, and you go to look for grants for startups, do a Google search, look for crowdfunding platforms for startups, look for other lenders that just lend to startups. But again, some of these are specific to industries like AngelPad for technology. But to answer your question, Poppy, no, the rest of these are not for technology. Only AngelPad is. Talking of grants, they generally don't have to be paid back. It's free money. So if you're doing urban projects, well, then you want to try HUD, Housing Urban Development. For rural projects, try USDA. Federal funding means less paperwork, means paperwork. You're going to have to do some paperwork on this, and you're often going to have to show experience on these as well. But again, let's say that you're doing, you're buying a building and you're fixing that building up to run your business. There's a lot of ways you can get financing for these type of things because they want you federally, and as you'll find here at a state level, they want you to be starting business. When you start businesses, especially at a state and local level, well then, man, what you're doing is you're bringing in commercial, and when you bring in commercial, people work there, and then that brings in people to live in the town, and this is how towns are built, right? I mean, you can't have a town that's just houses. Town is built based on commercial. Work comes in, people go to those towns and live there because they can work there, and they try to, of course, work as close to where you live as possible. So locally, look at grantwatch.com. These are local grants. Also try your city and state websites, or even go into your town hall. Like, I'm from a small town of 9,000 people. If I'm back in my hometown, I'm just going to walk into the court or walk into the actual government building and just ask them. So again, try state, try local websites as well. These are less restrictive, less paperwork than federal grants. Okay, and if you're part of that community or part of the state, it's much easier to get this kind of financing. Look, I can't show all these to you, but I can tell you there are thousands and thousands and thousands of grants available that are state specific. And when you really get into a niche, such as being a woman entrepreneur, okay, or being an African American entrepreneur, or any of these other scenarios where you're into some kind of graphic or demographic or group of people, they will really have a lot of options for you. And I see a lot of this. I've actually got training on my YouTube channel about funding for women entrepreneurs, and we go through a bunch of different grants that are available for women entrepreneurs. Okay, so again, if you're a veteran, so this is a group of a group as well that can get financing. So look at this. Think about it. What are you? Are you a veteran? Are you a woman entrepreneur? Are you somebody that's young starting a business? Well, then do searches there, because there's all kinds of grants that are state specific or basically specific for certain groups. Like, there's a lot of grants out there for veterans that may work for you outside of the ones I'm talking about here as well. Private equity lines of credit. So you can get up to $1 million if you're doing private equity investors. Typically pretty low rates if they charge you interest at all. Okay, but you've got to keep in mind, usually they're going to want you to have tax returns. Won't work as well for startups if you're working with the private equity, but angel investing will. So there's a couple different kinds of investors here. There's informal investors who generally invest in the start of a company, okay, in exchange usually for equity. They can even use crowdfunding platforms. There's now crowdfunding platforms out there specifically for angel investing. Okay, they can also be people that you know well or people you don't know. So if you're going to get angel investing, we typically think about angel investors as people that we do not know. But the reality is the majority of angel investing comes from what are called affiliated angels, which are people that you know already. Okay, and if you're working with affiliated angels, it's much easier to get unaffiliated angels. So let me give you an example. Let's say 3 of my friends donate money as angel investors into my company. Well, it's much easier for me to go get a private investor to want to donate money, because I can say, look, 3 of my friends trust me enough to do this. When they see others around me trust me enough to angel invest in the business, they're more inclined to do that as well. And Corey, thanks for the feedback. I love the knowledge I give. I appreciate that. And Borgard, what grants are available for REI? You need to do research. I don't have the specific ones off the top of my head for your industry, but I can tell you that if you do research just on that, you're asking a really good question. And off the top of my head, I've never done that. As a matter of fact, that might be a good topic to jump into. So for real estate investment, do some research. What grants are available for real estate investment? I will tell you this much, though. I see a lot of people, if you go to Meetup, you can go to meetup.com, I think, meetups and local groups that get together. There's a lot of them for real estate investing. And here's what I found. I found that if you go to these groups, there's a lot of investors in there that have the money, but they don't want to do the work. And you can partner with them where you're doing the work of finding the property, submitting the property to them. If they like the property, they fund the property for you, and then you do the work, and then you split the returns with them at some percentage. So I can tell you, beyond grants, consider that too, because local meetups I found are very successful at finding these investors that want to front the money and invest in real estate and get the return, but not do the work that you can partner with. So back to angel investors. You want to connect to unaffiliated investors by cold calling, advertising, looking online. Okay, you can also try Gust. Okay, Gust.com. Okay, this used to be AngelSoft, and Entrepreneur Magazine suggests sites like Funding Post, Ace.net as well for angel investors. So there's a couple different things you should know about angel investors. There's individual investors you can now get. And then there's also these platforms now where they're combining money from multiple different investors. Okay, this is now called peer-to-peer lending in the financing space, but many of the peer-to-peer lending, I think besides Startup Foundry or Startup Factory, many of the peer-to-peer lenders will want you to be in business for a year or more. But there's this idea now of private investors that are pooling money together to lend instead of one investor giving you the money. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're trying to raise 50 grand. Well, it's going to be tough getting one angel investor to give you 50 grand, but you can go to these angel investing networks, and these networks will let you post projects, and angels will come together, and maybe 5 people will give 10 grand and you get your 50, and it's 5 angel investors instead of one. So you can look at individual angel investors, and again, based on your industry, your state, etc., they might have ones that are niche and specialized just in that. You can also come in and you can also focus on angel investing networks. And networks sometimes are easier because they pull the money together of many different angel investors. Now, when you're looking at this, angel investors are looking for a defined exit strategy. Okay, like you're getting it acquired or bought out, or you're going to go public. Okay, and typically, they're going to want you to give up 10, 20, 30% of the actual value of your business. So keep in mind. Okay, so when it comes to money for your business, there's 2 kinds of money. It's called debt and it's called equity. So that means if you're willing to take on debt, that's most all of the loans I've shown you so far. The other thing is you exchange ownership interest, or you give up stocks or equity in your business in exchange for the money. That's what angel investors do, and that's what these guys do too, venture capitalists. So venture capitalists and angel investors will give you money in exchange for ownership of your business. They're not going to loan you money at an interest rate. They're going to give you the money in exchange for ownership interest to the business. But they're all going to want to exit in 2, 3, 4 years and get a return on their money. So venture capitalists give money to startups as well. Now, typically, most of the time here, you're going to start with angel investors before venture capitalists. A lot of venture capitalists are going to want you to actually have some profits, some revenue before they're going to lend money. Okay, these tend to be fast-growing companies. So, example, Uber. If you think about Uber, right? They got their start by a lot of a lot of venture capital, because the venture capitalists saw an idea that could be absolutely multi-billion-dollar company, and that's why they funded it. So again, they're looking for very fast growth companies when it comes to venture capital. They're looking to exit in about 3 to 5 years. Now, venture capitalists are going to look for a strong management team, large potential market. This is really big. So let me give you an example. I know somebody that knows somebody that had a chance to invest in Yeti. Now, if you remember Yeti coolers, Yeti mugs, thermoses, well, they turned it down because Yeti wasn't serving a big enough market when they heard Yeti's pitch. All they wanted to actually do was service outdoor sportsmen. And then Yeti learned from these pitches that was not good to focus on this niche. They expanded it out and started creating products that everybody could use. And then, of course, they got a lot of venture capital. And then, of course, they became a very big company. I imagine they're probably $1 billion or more. Okay, so they're going to look for a unique product that you have. You don't have a bunch of competitors, and that you have a strong competitive advantage. So if you do have competitors, what do you do that's so much different than what they're doing? They're also seeking opportunities in industries they have familiarity with, so ones that they already have experience in, that they can contribute value and be able to do more. Now, if you want more information here, and you go to youtube.com/CreditSuite, I've got a video just on how to get venture capital. capital. I've got a video just on angel investing. And if you subscribe on YouTube, then I soon will have, I think I haven't done it yet, a video on creating a pitch deck for venture capitalists and angel investing. So even though this video is not going to be all the things that we could go over here, I've got separate videos on almost every one of these products, including venture capital, including how to create pitch decks, angel investors, all those other details you need to know. Oh, one of my favorites, business credit. I love it. It's a catch-all. Anybody can get it. I told you in the beginning that you need to have typically cash flow, credit, or collateral, a strength to be able to get lending, okay? And most of the stuff I've shown you is based on your credit, or it's based on your collateral, because you're a startup. You don't have cash flow yet. Business credit works for everybody. You don't need credit. You don't need collateral. You don't need cash flow. Anybody can get it. It's credit that's linked to your EIN, not your SSN. Okay, you get it without a personal guarantee. You get it without a personal credit check. You can get it right away even as a startup. And you can get high limit accounts very quickly. $5,000, $10,000 accounts you're able to come in and get a few months in to building business credit, and it really helps you get loans because lenders pull your commercial credit profile when determining if they should give you money, and your business credit quality determines how much money you should get, the rates and terms you'll pay, and the terms you're going to get on that as well. So this is one of the only ways to get money if you don't have that collateral, cash flow, or credit, or a guarantor. So that's why it works well. Now, if you're building business credit, you're going to want to start with what are called vendor accounts. These are places like Uline and Quill that will kind of like give you stuff you need, like office supplies or shipping supplies, but they're unique because they report this credit to the business credit reporting agencies. Once you've done so, once you've got accounts with about 5 of those kind of vendors, then you can move on in about 30 to 60 days to start getting credit with actual retailers and fleet sources. So this includes like Amazon and Walmart and Best Buy and Staples, Office Depot, Home Depot, Lowe's. It also includes fleet cards like Wex fleet cards, or you can get, fleet cards at Shell and BP, Chevron, Sunoco, all these sources. So this is where you're getting high limit credit cards, okay, to buy the stuff you need without a personal guarantee and credit check. So I see Amazon as one of the most popular approvals I see. People get $10, $20, $30, $40,000 credit lines at Amazon. Think about that. I mean, could you start your business with buying most of the stuff that you need to do so on Amazon? Probably so, depending on the industry you're in. If you're in trucking, for example, that's not going to work. But again, equipment financing, you could buy the truck you need to put on the road. So when it comes to this kind of business credit, you're able to get credit cards to get most of what you need. And then you're able to also even get auto repairs, vehicles through these fleet cards. Then you're able to get cash financing. Or when I say cash, I mean credit cards, Visa cards, MasterCards you can use anywhere. You can get auto financing here as well. So this gives you the ability, when you have about 14 of these accounts reporting on your business credit reports, you can even get Visa cards, you can get MasterCards, you can use American Express sometimes issues them, sometimes they don't without the personal guarantee and credit check. And here's why this is so important. Again, I told you in the beginning, so many people make a mistake of saying, I need a $50,000 credit line. But then when I ask them why they need it, they need $10,000 for equipment, they need $10,000 for office supplies, they need $10,000 for office furniture, they want $20,000 for working capital, marketing, etc. Well, in that example I just gave you, you could get equipment financing for the $10,000 that you need in equipment. You could use an Amazon credit card for the $10,000 worth of office supplies you need. You could use IKEA or Staples or Amazon to be able to get the $10,000 in furniture you need. So you didn't really need a $50,000 credit line. You used your business credit cards and equipment financing to get most of what you need. Then you can come in and use unsecured business financing I showed you to get a big credit line that you could use for payroll and marketing, etc. Okay, so this is why you should really break down the funding you need. How much money you need to start the business? What do you need the money for? And then think about individual ways to get any of that money you can, so it makes it easier to get a smaller loan or credit line as a startup for the cash that the stuff you actually really need cash for. Because let's be honest, I mean, you could use a Visa card to get just about anything you need, right? I mean, we pay all of our advertising on Visa or on our Amex card. Our American Express, we pay every single month on our American Express card, and we pay it off. So again, you could use business credit to get almost everything you need for the business, and you don't need cash flow, you don't need collateral, you don't need good credit to get it. Okay. Now remember, you want to manage the business credit responsibly. Your business credit scores are based on how you pay. So you got to make sure you pay the bills on time to avoid adverse late payments on your credit report. Okay. And obviously don't bite off more financing than you could chew. Okay. You want to be responsible here. Okay. This is why Mark Cuban hates it when startups get loans, because typically you're going to have a tendency to overspend in the beginning. And I'll tell you a lesson I've learned in running a business. Businesses usually take twice as long and cost twice as much money to get off the ground as what you think they will. And Poppy comes in and says, I sure have these. Okay, so that was in regards to another comment. So let's recap. Think outside the box. Stop trying to go to the big banks. They're not going to help you. You got to creatively leverage collateral. I showed you a bunch of different ways to use your collateral or collateral of somebody else to qualify. You want to explore grants and crowdfunding. Free money. In a lot of cases, the grants that I've talked to you about, some of those funding options that were specifically for startups, whether they're loans or gifts or something you could win as part of a competition, or crowdfunding, this is not even money that needs to be paid back. Don't forget about people around you that could be angel investors. 75% of business owners get money from those people to start a business. Affiliated angels. Then there's unaffiliated angels. These are venture capitalists or angel investors who will give you money as well to get the business off the ground. Angel investors. We talked about how to get individual angel investors or networks of angel investors to help you. And don't forget, venture capitalists may work if you have a really good idea and no competition. Otherwise, they're typically going to want to see you producing some revenue before they're going to jump in. And don't forget about business credit. It's brilliant. Business credit will help you get even more money in loans and credit lines. It will help you get high limit credit cards. You don't need credit. You don't need cash flow. You don't need collateral to get it either. And it will buy most of what you need to buy to be able to get the business going. Okay, so some things to think about there. Now, as I mentioned, some things to keep in mind working with us. We offer every legitimate business funding option in one place. We are one of about 3 companies in the entire nation that does this. Why is that a big deal? Because if you go to a lender that you see online on Facebook or that calls you or texts you or you see on TV, they typically only offer 1 or 2 kinds of financing. When you work with a company that offers all kinds of financing, you could typically get multiple kinds of financing like I showed you. You could get 2 or 3 kinds of financing, which helps you get even more money and helps you get financing when you typically wouldn't from a source that only offers 1 or 2 kind of financing. You never pay us a dime of money. We don't charge you fees to help you with financing. The lenders will charge you fees. They will charge you interest. We even negotiate that for you to lower that, okay, to make sure that you pay lower than you'd pay on your own. But we never directly charge you any money. The reason for that is a lot of the lenders pay us a referral fee, okay, so that's how we get paid, so we don't have to charge you. And we use our loan volume to get you discounts. Look, if you go into a lender and get a $10,000 loan, do you think they're going to give you a better rate or give me a better rate when I get $1 million in loans from them in a month? So what happens is we do so much business with so many lenders, they give us discounts on pricing, and we give that discount right to you, which means you pay lower rates in terms than you'd pay trying to get the financing on your own. And we even build out a business blueprint, very unique to us. We're the only company that does this. We talk about all the money you can get now, then we build a blueprint to get even more money in the future as well. So we actually map out a blueprint and teach you what you need to do to get even more money as well. And the whole goal is you never look for funding again. When I started CreditSuite, this was one of my goals. I said, why is it that I have an accountant that handles accounting and I have an attorney that handles my legal stuff, but I don't have a funding guy that can get me funding whenever I need it? And so we created CreditSuite and fought an uphill battle for now 7 years to build a company that makes it really easy for you to get capital. It's what we do by pulling all these funding together in one place. So whenever you need money, just get in touch with us. Just let us know. My name's Ty Crandall with CreditSuite again, and hopefully you enjoyed this on how to get capital for a business. Remember, you can give us a call anytime at 877-600-2487. You can also go direct online to creditsuite.com/get funding. And we will then, you can answer a few questions and we'll talk to you more about the financing you can get, or email us info@creditsuite.com. If you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll notify you when we go live. I typically go live every Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern. Here I am, it's Friday at 11 o'clock Eastern because I had a tech issue on Tuesday Tuesday. But if you subscribe to our channel, you would know I'm going live right now. So on our website, CreditSuite.com, at the top right, you can access our Facebook page where we go live every week. We go live on YouTube as well. We release daily tips on our Instagram and Twitter. We even have a podcast that's extremely popular that we've got like hundreds of episodes with now that a lot of people listen to on the fly, that teaches you all kinds of things about entrepreneurship and everything related to getting capital for your business. Let me jump in, see if there's any other comments. Mel Fox, great, awesome, high value info. Ty, thank you. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Joshua says, hey, Ty, so could I get a loan for an 18-wheeler through the equipment financing? Yes, we actually have specific financing that is just for the purpose of getting 18-wheelers. So make sure you give us a call, send us an email, or better yet, go to creditsuite.com/get funding. And Andre says, thanks for the knowledge. Poppy says, thanks as well. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Hopefully you got a lot of value and got many different options that you need here to get money to start and grow a business. I hope you all have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on other channels so you can get even more information. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.